The Wild West did not run on myths. It ran on rifles that hit harder, reached farther, and decided who walked away. Today, we break down 10 weapons that shaped real frontier power. No legends, no exaggeration, only the machines that truly ruled the American frontier. Number 10, Sharp's Big 50. The rifle at number 10, the Sharp's Big 50, earned its reputation the moment hunters realized it could crush a target at distances that left other rifles blinking in confusion. Nothing about it looked subtle. Everything about it looked like purpose. It fired the massive 50-90 cartridge, round that hit with the kind of authority hunters depended on when a 2,000-pound buffalo needed to drop on the first shot, not the third. Black powder drove the heavy slug forward with energy that turned bone into splinters. On the plains, that kind of certainty meant survival. One mistake could leave a hunter exposed, and the Big 50 erased the margin for error. When buffalo hunters lined up their shots, that heavy octagon barrel stayed steady, refusing to dance under the recoil that punished lesser rifles. Falling block action locked up with mechanical confidence, and every pull of the trigger sent a message that carried for half a mile. Hunters talked about splitting playing cards or punching clean holes through targets so distant they looked like specks in the wind. Its weight worked both for and against it. The rifle steadied long shots beautifully, but carrying it all day was something only hard men tolerated. But people respected the Big 50 for a reason. It gave them confidence in the middle of an unforgiving country. When a slug left that barrel, everyone nearby knew it meant business. Buffalo hunters staked their livelihoods on it. Frontier scouts trusted it when the range stretched too far for lighter cartridges, and anyone who saw the results of a well-placed shot knew the rifle had earned every story told about it. Number 9, Evans Repeater. Then came a rifle so strange, so ahead of its time, that even modern shooters still raise an eyebrow at its design. The Evans Repeater looked like someone tried to hide a secret machine inside a wooden stock, and in a way they did. Most rifles of the era bragged about holding 7 rounds, maybe 15. The Evans walked into the conversation holding more than 30. Depending on the model, the helical magazine inside the stock carried between 28 and 34 cartridges. No frontier shooter had seen anything like it. It felt unreal in the 1870s when most men still fought with single shots and sluggish muskets. Working the lever fed the next round through a twisting internal track, almost like a mechanical coil spring brought to life. That meant the shooter could stand there sending round after round downrange while opponents scrambled to reload. In a close fight, the Evans created chaos. Attackers expecting a pause never got one. Of course, such innovation came with trade-offs. Loading the helical system was slow and required patience. Dirt or grit made the mechanism temperamental, and the special 44 Evans cartridge had no other uses. Its limited availability on the frontier. That didn't stop curious shooters and forward-thinking settlers from giving it a try. When it worked, the rifle created a wave of fire that stunned anyone used to standard lever guns. Imagine an ambush where one shooter keeps firing while everyone else pauses to reload. The kind of imbalance changed outcomes. For a brief moment, the Evans was the closest thing to a bottomless rifle the West had ever seen. Number 8, Winchester 1873. Number 8 sits the rifle that became a symbol long before it became a collectible. The Winchester 1873 entered the frontier and immediately dominated the conversation. Not because of gimmicks, not because of a strange new system. It succeeded because it combined speed, reliability, and familiar handling into one brutally effective package. You saw a man cycle that lever with controlled rhythm. You knew he wasn't bluffing. The rifle carried up to 15 rounds of .44-40 ammunition, the same cartridge used in many revolvers of the period. Shooters love the convenience. Carry one type of ammo. Feed 2 guns. Keep pockets light and reload simple. 1873 rewarded steady aim and quick thinking. While opponents fumbled with single shots or struggled with slow breech loaders, the Winchester user fired multiple rounds without giving anyone a chance to close the distance. That advantage changed fights everywhere. Saloon alleys, dusty roads, ranch standoffs, even skirmishes at remote outposts. Not everything about it was perfect. The .44-40 cartridge lacked the force larger rifles delivered. Against hardened targets or long-range threats, it struggled. Yet the rifle never pretended to be a long-range beast. Its goal was speed, handling, and practical firepower. Number 7, Remington Rolling Block. Number 7 brings us into the territory where simplicity meets near indestructibility. The Remington Rolling Block rifle looked plain at first glance, but the closer you studied it, the more impressive it became. It was the definition of rugged engineering. The breech mechanism used a rotating block that locked into place with absolute certainty. There were almost no delicate parts. Nothing flimsy, nothing waiting to break. Soldiers all over the world trusted it because the design refused to jam, seize, or fail under pressure. Powder residue, dust, heat, the rifle took punishment without complaint. The Rolling Rock fired powerful cartridges such as 50-70 and 45-70, rounds known for heavy recoil and serious impact. This rifle absorbed both with sturdy construction that held together even after years of hard use. Frontier scouts carried it into remote terrain because they knew repairs would be rare. Buffalo hunters appreciated its dependable accuracy. Military units across more than 40 countries adopted versions of it because nothing else at the time matched its durability. Its great advantage came from that stubborn reliability. When everything else on the frontier could break, tools, wagons, nerves, the rolling block kept working. That mattered in places where missing one shot could mean losing everything. But it remained a single-shot rifle, and that limitation stayed with it. Against repeaters like the Winchester or Spencer, any users needed to make every round count. Fumbling a reload under pressure was not an option. Number 6, Spencer Repeating Rifle. Number 6 belongs to the rifle that shattered expectations the moment it appeared. The Spencer Repeating Rifle changed how people thought about firepower. This weapon arrived in an era dominated by muzzle loaders, where one shot meant a long pause filled with powder, caps, and hope. Then Spencer showed up with 7 rounds ready to go. Its tubular magazine in the stock fed 56 caliber rimfire cartridges through a reliable lever system. Soldiers quickly realized they could fire 7 shots in the time it took opponents to load once. That difference wasn't just tactical, it flipped entire battles. Union cavalry units learned they could break charges, scatter ambushes, and hold ground with confidence because the Spencer refused to slow down. Once the user pulled the lever, a fresh round snapped into place. A second later, another shot fired. Anyone facing this rifle for the first time understood the meaning of shock. Even President Abraham Lincoln tested it on the White House lawn and gave it his approval, noting its impressive performance and mechanical advantage. After the war, thousands of these rifles traveled west with veterans, settlers, scouts, and lawmen. It didn't have weaknesses. Rimfire ammunition cost more than centerfire cartridges and sometimes misfired. Once Winchester entered the market with later lever designs, the Spencer began losing ground. Before its era, the rifle felt like a glimpse into the future. Before we continue, hit subscribe for more videos breaking down the weapons, tactics, and firepower that shaped the frontier. Number 5, Whitworth Rifle. At number 5 stands a rifle that felt almost unreal on the frontier. The Whitworth looked like it came from a world where shooting rules were written by engineers, not folklore. Nothing about it followed the trends of typical frontier rifles, and the moment you picked it up, you noticed details that separated it from the crowd. The barrel was hexagonal inside instead of round. That unusual shape worked with a unique bullet design to stabilize each shot with a precision that startled anyone testing it for the first time. Marksmen learned quickly that the rifle didn't simply shoot well, it reached distances that made opponents feel exposed even when they thought they were safe. During the Civil War, expert shooters using Whitworth rifles gained notoriety for dropping high-ranking officers from distances that left witnesses stunned. Troops on the receiving end felt uneasy, knowing a man hidden half a mile away could aim at them with confidence. Once those rifles moved west, wealthier settlers and hunters took interest in their unusual capabilities. The .451 caliber bullet flew flat and true. That long 33-inch barrel helped guide each shot with rare consistency. This gun rewarded calm shooters who knew how to read wind and elevation. Buffalo hunters occasionally carried Whitworths when they needed shots most rifles couldn't handle. The downside appeared whenever the terrain or conditions turned harsh. The rifle needed careful cleaning, and the ammunition was costly. The hexagonal bore collected fouling quickly, and loading the rifle required more attention than most people wanted to give. It wasn't the rifle you grabbed for muddy trails or gritty camps because dust worked its way into places where precision mattered. Number 4, Winchester 1866. Number 4 goes to the Winchester 1866, a rifle that shaped daily life more than legends. The bright brass receiver earned its nickname Yellow Boy, and the name stuck everywhere from crowded towns to isolated camps. This rifle became the dependable ally of settlers who needed something that reacted quickly and worked reliably. It fired the .44 rimfire cartridge and carried up to 15 rounds. That meant fast follow-up shots, practical hunting performance, and solid defense in places where help was far away. The 24-inch barrel offered good control, and the lever action cycled smoothly enough that even inexperienced shooters learned how to fire confidently with minimal practice. It struck a perfect balance between cost, durability, and performance. Families heading west packed it in wagons because it covered so many needs at once. Cowboys kept it tied to saddles for daily work. Guards and scouts relied on it when traveling light and delivered firepower without demanding specialized skill. The rifle climbed in popularity because it solved problems that single-shot rifles struggled with. Suddenly, settlers defending their homes had the advantage of multiple shots without the delay of muzzle-loading systems. Still, the .44 rimfire cartridge lacked the deep punch of heavier rounds. Against determined threats or distant targets, shooters needed to be realistic about limitations, but its strength came from being practical. It wasn't built to win contests or dominate long-range engagements. It was built to be the rifle that always showed up when something needed to work without excuses. Number 3, Spring-filled trapdoor. The number 3 slot goes to a rifle that influenced more skirmishes than most people realize. The Spring-filled trapdoor combined older musket designs with a clever breech-leading upgrade that flipped open like a small metal hatch. That single improvement transformed slow muzzle loaders into quicker single-shot rifles that delivered solid range and hard-hitting force. Firing the .45-70 cartridge, the trapdoor carried enough power to stop both large game and enemy fighters with authority. Frontier soldiers relied on it because they needed something tough enough for rugged terrain, yet quicker than the older muskets they were replacing. Troopers appreciated the way the breech snapped open cleanly, allowing them to jam in a fresh round and close it within seconds. The speed changed battlefield habits and gave the shooter a small but meaningful advantage over anyone still fumbling with powder and caps. But the rifle had problems that became painfully clear during the chaos of some engagements. The powerful cartridge sometimes expanded inside the chamber. Under heavy fire, when anxiety and speed collided, that expansion could create jams that froze the rifle at the worst possible moment. Reports from the Battle of Little Bighorn reference cases of stuck cartridges that left soldiers vulnerable during critical moments. Even with those flaws, the trapdoor became a defining tool of frontier forces. For nearly 2 decades, it acted as the workhorse rifle of units scattered across the plains. Its presence shaped the tactics and outcomes of numerous conflicts because the .45-70 round delivered force that opponents respected instantly. Number 2, the Winchester 1886. Number 2 belongs to a rifle that combined raw muscle with slick lever-action speed. The Winchester 1886 arrived with no intention of being polite. It fired heavy cartridges that other lever rifles simply couldn't handle, turning each shot into a blast that hammered through targets most guns struggled to dent. This rifle accepted .45-70, .45-90, and even the monstrous .50-110 round, ammunition that delivered devastating impact. Hunters carrying the 1886 could take down elk, bear, buffalo, and anything else that roamed the frontier. It was the closest thing the Old West had to a portable cannon that still cycled fast enough for follow-up shots. The action, designed by John Browning, locked like steel jaws. It handled pressure levels that could have shattered earlier lever guns. You could feel the strength every time the lever snapped forward and returned home. It had range, it had accuracy, and it had a punch most rifles feared to imitate. Men who carried it trusted it for real reasons. When something moved in the brush and you didn't feel like guessing, 1886 cleared the doubt. The threat got too close, the rifle fired again without hesitation. It delivered results so decisive that even the most stubborn frontiersmen respected it from the first shot. Number 1, Winchester 1894. Here is number 1, the rifle that towered above all others in influence, longevity, and sheer effectiveness. The Winchester 1894 walked into the frontier late in the game, but it refined everything lever-action rifles have been trying to become. More than 7 million units rolled off production lines over the years, turning the rifle into an American icon. It chambered potent rounds such as the .30-30 Winchester, a cartridge with enough strength to bring down deer, bear, and even larger game with clean accuracy. The rifle handled quickly, pointed naturally, and allowed shooters to fire multiple shots without breaking rhythm. The steel receiver and smooth cycling made it a favorite among ranchers, hunters, and lawmen. The rifle didn't jam easily, didn't complain about dust, and didn't demand careful handling. Customization expanded its appeal. Saddle ring carbines suited riders who needed speed and maneuverability. Longer rifles suited hunters tracking targets across ridges and brush. Every version held on to the same qualities: quick response, trustworthy function, and meaningful impact. What set 1894 apart was how it fit into everyday survival. It became more than a tool, it became a constant companion. The man who carried it knew he held something that answered threats with calm, practiced certainty. Power stayed consistent. Its design never felt outdated because it hit the sweet spot between speed and force. And unlike many frontier weapons that faded as technology advanced, the Winchester 1894 kept living on. Frontier didn't forgive weakness, and these rifles made sure of it. Firepower drew the line between living and vanishing. If you want more breakdowns of the weapons that shaped that brutal world, hit subscribe. The next chapter brings even harder steel.